How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting. Welcome back to the House of Fata Morgana Reincarnation. So we're in the full, I guess you could almost call it the reboot of all their lives. And we've seen Giselle and Michel, and they immediately ran into Maria, which was really crazy to see already. So they kind of understand now that most likely all the souls that were trapped in the mansion are free. And then Michel had a dream that he saw Morgana, and that she has a new body, but that she also remembers everything that she's done. And so the burden of all those terrible, terrible things is now resting on her, because now she kind of has regained that sense of self and conscience. She's, left behind the burden of her, at least the majority of her grudge, but in return, she now feels awful for it. And so I think he's going to start actively looking for her, because it looks like she might need some extra help. So yeah, things have been going really good. The art style has been beautiful. The voice acting has been really interesting. It's also left me with an odd feeling, because I'm used to playing these games where I only voice certain lines, but I've been doing Fata Morgana for so long, and I've been doing every voice in Fata Morgana, including previous videos in this particular series, that it almost makes me feel weird not saying everyone's voice lines. But, so we're still getting used to it, but it's all right. We're going to have fun anyway. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys are having fun, that we get to enjoy the next section of this story together. So sit back, relax, and let's get started.
いつも通りの朝だ。いや、いつもより賑やかで、いい香りもする。
Aww. Yeah, it is. It's weird, because even his internal monologues, he reads. It's weird.
おはようございます、ミシェル。もう朝食もできてますよ。
Aww, she's so great.
おはよう、ジゼル。早いですね。起こしてくれてよかったのに。それに、全部やってもらわなくても、私だって手伝いますよ。昔と違って生活能力はあるんですから。
Oh, come on. You know she just does it because she loves it.
いつも卵を焦がすような人に生活能力があるって言われたくないです。
Mm-hmm.
それに今日は作りたい気分だったんです。料理は趣味でもあるんで、気にしないでくださいな。はい、席に座って。
There you go.
じゃあ、お言葉に甘えます。ありがとう。
いえいえ。あ。お目覚めのハーブティーは何になさいます？カモミールの葉なら良いものを仕入れておりますわ。
She's channeling her maid.
じゃあ水で。
お茶。
ノリが悪すぎませんかそれ。
彼女は時折女中ごっこをやるんだよな。可愛いけど反応しにくい。あと、うちにはカモミールの葉なんてない。
はい、どうぞ、水です。蛇口をひねるだけなんてつまらなさすぎるわ。
Her pout face is great.
そんなところで不満を漏らされても。
やっぱり1000年女中さんをした身としては、あれこれ世話を焼きたくなるんです。
Mm-hmm.
ところで、勘違いだったらいいんですけど、ちょっと顔色悪くないですか？
そうですかね。眠りが浅かったから寝不足になっているだけかもしれません。
Yeah, story of my freaking life.
私、隣でなんかしちゃいました？すごい寝相で蹴り飛ばしちゃったとか。
I like how that's your first guess.
君の寝相がいいことは昔から知っていますから。そうではなく、ちょっと気になる夢を見たので。
I'm glad he's opening up about it. Sometimes protagonists will be like, it was nothing, I shouldn't share. But I like how he's actually talking about it.
夢ですか？
ええ。彼女、モルガーナが助けを求めているような。いや、ただの夢だとは思います。昨日マリーアに会ったから、彼女を連想するような夢を見てしまっただけなんでしょう。
Yeah.
そう でしょうか。こういうのって意味がある夢なんじゃないかしら。
I really wonder. Like, for a story's sake, it makes sense to have dreams mean stuff, you know. But sometimes it almost makes you wonder, like, I mean, the dreams are dreams. They're cognitive relapses and reckonings. But sometimes, like, it's hard not to almost want them to have meaning, because otherwise, why are dreams so specific, you know? And if you're anything like me, I have really intense and vivid dreams. So when I have a dream, especially about people who I know, it often is overwhelming. That's really the best word for it. Overwhelming. And it can actually be difficult to know how to handle that or to not look for meaning in it. I can see why dream reading and like dream interpretation has always been a characteristic of human history, because it's frustrating to feel like those dreams don't mean anything, and I think they probably have some meaning. Like, they have probably a subconscious meaning, like a reflection of your inner thoughts or worries or passions being manifest in a somewhat tangible form. But I can also understand why people would find it attractive to go do things like talking to psychics and dream readers and all that stuff, because we want the subtle things in our lives that seem like odd coincidences to have meaning. But for these guys, we know it has meaning. We know that it's very likely real. So it's really interesting to see that. But I almost wish real life were a bit more like a fantasy sometimes. Not so much in the whole like I'd like to escape it per se, but like there's kind of a charm in that structure and believing that there is like a method to the madness.
正夢だったら大変なことだわ。仮に正夢じゃなかったとしても何かの暗喩かもしれませんし。
夢の話なのにそこまで信じてくれるんですか？
当然です。だってミシェルが見た夢なんです。そこに彼女が出てきたのならやっぱり特別な意味があるんだと思います。本当に何でもない夢ならそれはそれで何でもなかったねって笑えばいいだけです。
I love her. She's such an optimist. Like, it's almost weird because like we get so used to the maid part of like Giselle. Before she became the maid, she was always like this.
その夢の通りなら彼女もこの世界にいて、そして何かに苦しんでるってことですよね。
Yeah.
だったら見つけ出して助けてあげないと。
Aww.
そうですね。
何か他にも気になることがあるんですか？
いや、うまく説明ができないんですが、とても不明瞭な夢で。
Unfortunately, no.
あれは今のことだったのだろうか。
どういうことですか？
Oh, that could be interesting. Cause like, what if it happened a while ago? And so like, what if Morgana now is like an old maid, like she's like 80 or something?
昔、君と歴史を変えようとした時のことを覚えていますか？
Right.
はい、もちろん覚えていますよ。あの時代は本当の歴史じゃなかったけれど。でも、あの時のミシェルの頑張りがみんなの思いを変えてモルガーナの認識を覆したんです。それは間違いのないことだわ。それで、あの時代のことが何か？
その時も一度だけ夢の中でモルガーナと会ったことがある。魔女ではなく聖女として生きていた頃の。
I see.
つまりもう過ぎてしまった過去の夢。
昨晩見た夢もそれに似ていたってこと？
Interesting.
ええ、感覚的には。だからもしも彼女が何かに困っていたとしても、それがこの瞬間の出来事でないのなら、今の私にできることはないのかもしれない。それに、そもそもの話として、彼女がどこにいるのかもわからないんだ。夢のことは気になるが、引きずりすぎても仕方ないと思う。
Maybe, but I'm guessing, can we at least be on guard though? Can we like kind of look around a bit.
モルガーナの似顔絵を描いて、この人を探してますみたいに張り紙を出すとかどうでしょう？
That might be a bit much, Giselle.
そんな、迷子の猫を探してますみたいな張り紙。
でも、確かに関係性を問いただされたら困りますね。
That is actually a bit of a problem.
前世の関係者ですとか言っても、十中八九変質者にされちゃいますよね。
できる限りのことはしてみましょう。それに、私たちの縁が途絶えてないのなら、いつか出会えるような気もします。
Gotcha.
そうですよ。マリーアさんにばったり出会ったんです。モルガーナに出会えないなんてことはないと思います。
We just gotta keep our eyes out.
その時、あの子が何かに苦しんでいたら、全力で助けてあげましょうね。
Aww.
そうですね。やっぱり、お人よしと言われても否定できないかもしれない。彼女の女中としての長い悲劇は、モルガーナも関わっているのに。
Well, the other thing too is like I think what Giselle's embraced is the fact that like this is a new life. She has memories of the past, and maybe yeah, there is some of that pain still there, but she's like fully embraced the idea that this is a new life and a rebirth. I think Michel sometimes gets a little too hung up on the old life and the old memories. Like he is still too ponderous about it. Giselle's such a great example of how you move forward and like accept pain of the past, but you can like it doesn't have to define you. I think she even has a whole like line and segment where she talks about like that during when Michel was doing his like tromp through the past, like the recreation. Like she was talking about how like it's one thing to have memories that are bad, but it's another to let them dictate who you are. And I think I think it's cool that she's so consistent with her ability to compartmentalize and rationalize the pain and of the history, to not decontextualize it, minimize it, or try and like devalue it. Like she wouldn't do that. Instead, she just talks about moving forward and making progress, which is just really cool. It's a good, I think it's one of those things that's really inspirational in this case.
ジゼルはモルガーナを恨むどころか助けようとしている。あの時も今も。
Exactly.
どうしたんですか？何か笑うようなこと言いましたっけ？
いや、ただ君のことを好きになってよかったな。
Oh, Michelle, you just throw these lines out there. You're gonna rip her soul apart with happiness.
何なんですか急に。
昔も今も君には本当に救われている。
Aww.
そんないきなり言われても反応に困ります。それを言うなら私だって。まあ、朝食がすっかり冷めちゃいました。ほら、早く食べちゃいましょう。
好意を示してくれというくせに、いざ示したらこうなるんだからな。
Yeah, but that's okay. It's because she loves it, man. Like she doth protest, but it's not in vain. It's more about embarrassment.
そういえば、これからどうしていきたいか、希望はありますか？
これからですか？まずは家具を全部揃えて、調味料が足りないから買い揃えて。
Yeah?
いや、そういうことではなく、もっと長い目で。ジゼルの大学生活も落ち着きましたし、どうやって暮らしていきたいのか聞いておこうかと。
Okay, I get you.
月並みな返答ですけど、ミシェルと過ごせるなら、どんな形でも私は幸せですよ。
That's really sweet, but it also kind of has the problem of like when you ask somebody like, hey, where should we go to eat tonight? And they're like, I don't know. And you're like, okay, well, can I pick? And they're like, sure. And you say, oh, let's go get Thai food. And they're like, I don't feel like Thai food. And you're like, well, how about Italian? They're like, Italian's too cheesy. It's like, if you have an opinion, share it, please. It doesn't help if I don't know what you're actually thinking here.
そうですか。
でも、そうですね。将来の夢ってところだと、 前にも言ったように、お店を開いてみたいです。
I see. What kind of shop though? Like, wanting to run a business is great, but you gotta like have a business in mind.
具体的なところなんて全然考えてないんですけどね。大学では経済の勉強をしたけど、お金を大きく動かしていくっていうよりも。
Right, you want something small and personable.
そうですね。地域に密着できるような個人店みたいなのを目指したいんですよね。
It's hard not to fall in love with that kind of stuff. Like, there is an appeal to running a shop, but like, it's also so scary.
勉強したのとは方向性が違っちゃうけど。
Wow, isn't that a great summary of most life?
とりあえず、どんなものでも対応できるように、まずは雇ってもらえるところを探さないとって思ってます。
Okay.
マリーアさんの話を聞いちゃったから、働き口も慎重に探さなきゃって気持ちですし。
お店か。
どうかしたんですか？
いえ、今は気にしないでください。
That's a great way to answer that. He's just like, I need time to think. He's just like, I'll let you know after I simmered a bit.
あ、もしかして働きに出ないで家に入ってほしいとか思うタイプ？
まさか、やりたいことをやるのが一番ですよ。そうでないと質問もしません。
Aww.
ですよね。でも、もしミシェルが君は専業になるのだって言ってきたとしても、我を通したと思うわ。
That's right. Fight for the right. No breadwinner here. It's all of us together.
今は何の不自由もない生活ができていても、長い人生何があるかわかりませんから。
Wow. No search engine can predict the future. Mostly right.
ミシェルに何かあった時、支えるのは私の役目ですからね。
Oh yeah.
しっかりしている人だな。私よりもよほど。
Feels, man. I agree.
一緒に楽しくやっていきましょうね。
ええ、そうですね。
All right. So anyway, we're moving forward. We spent the day hunting for furniture as had the previous. It was challenging, but eventually we found a wardrobe that felt right. We bought dishes, toiletries, and a number of other daily necessities. With everything in its place, our new apartment finally started to feel like a real home. Once we made it past the hurdle of actually moving in, life quickly settled back into an uneventful routine. The fact that it had been a full year since we were reunited made it easier to smoothly transition to normal everyday life. Time trekked onward, my days busy but largely unremarkable, with no further unusual dreams to interrupt them. And then, before I realized it, a week had come and gone. That afternoon, I led Giselle out of the apartment building's courtyard. And then I made her a proposition, the idea I'd hesitated to bring up a week earlier. Wait, whoa. What? Wrong button. I can't remember what button I have to push to make it. Nope, not that one either. There it is. So what? What is it?
ジゼル、声が大きい。他の居住者の人が。
ごめんなさい。でも、いきなりどういうことなんですか？
What is it? What is he saying?
カフェのオーナーをやってみないかなんて。
Oh, that's a cute idea. Her face was practically pressed up against mine. There was a blaze in her widened eyes. This was about how I expected her to react. The question had both come seemingly out of nowhere, and it was a decision with a large scale and long-term ramifications. I wasn't asking her if she wanted to work at a cafe, but if she wanted to open one of her own. Well, that's the thing. You've got the location here. It's already pretty good. Like, the bus stop's, like, literally right there, right? And sure, it's an apartment complex mostly, but they have at least one place that's open. If it has a forward-facing entrance, all it would take is a little bit of renovating, and you could have a really gorgeous spot for a cafe with a lot of natural foot traffic. The unused space on the ground floor that Giselle had asked about on her first day had in fact used to be a cafe run by an elderly couple. Eventually, it got to be too much work for them to physically handle at their age, and they shut down shop, leaving the space unused for some years. Among other reasons, the furnishings and equipment were old and needed replacing, so no one stepped in to take over the business. The fact that the property was on the edge of town rather than in the heart of the city also kept a lot of prospective replacements away. Though the biggest reason was, no one had ever actively advertising the space's availability. Not that I thought a for rent sign over the window would even bring anyone in, but nonetheless, it felt like a waste to leave the space unused. So I had originally been planning to renovate it into another apartment. And as the owner of the property, consolidating it all would make life much easier. However, if Giselle was interested in using the space to run her own cafe, all that went out the window. Everything was still in the planning phase, so I could change course readily enough. I had enough savings to cover the purchase of new equipment. My parents would also likely try to help, but knowing us, Giselle and I would probably want to handle everything ourselves. But even after explaining everything, Giselle seemed far more perplexed than pleased. Interesting.
お話自体は嬉しいですけど、でもお店をやりたいっていうのも妄想みたいなもので、現実的にちゃんと考えてなくて。
Interesting. I guess that's fair.
何より私は何の経験もないんですよ。アルバイトくらいしかしたことないのに、いきなりお店を経営するなんて。
This is perplexed, but it's like sometimes you just gotta throw yourself at a project, you know? Like, to heck with it, caution to the winds, doing something that requires a little bit of risk. I mean, it's one thing to do something like this YouTube channel, obviously. Like, there was very little risk. The only thing I really sacrifice on this thing is time. Which, I mean, time is money and all that stuff. But still, it's like, I also get so much enjoyment out of it. It's perfectly fine. Starting a business is scary. Like, because it has such an initial investment. And then, like, it takes so much, like, of your focus. Like, you have to be able to, like, give it the time that it needs to nurture and grow it. You have to start juggling things like payrolls and taxes and everything. Like, there's got to be so much. But being able to have a space that you can work from and run a business from without having to worry about rent is probably one of the biggest, like, costs for most businesses. Just because it's consistent and persistent, and like everything's on the line. If you can't pay your rent, like, you could lose everything. But like owning the property already, like owning the location, it really opens the door for being able to like start something small and make it grow.
大学を出たばかりの人間に店そのものを任されるのは荷が重いです。
そういう反応をするだろうなと思っていたので、切り出すのも悩んでいたんです。事実、私もこういうのは経験を積んでからやるべきものだと思っていましたから。
じゃあなんで提案してきたんですか？
経験だけで言うなら十分あるんじゃないかと思い直したので。
Oh yeah, she did technically was alive for like 1,000 years.
私がいつ仕事の経験をしたって言うんです？
もちろん過去です。確かに今の君は大学を出たばかりの女の子かもしれないが、そうじゃないことを私は知っている。
Remember, you were an Abigail. Like, you practically ran a house. That's like running a business.
昔の君が生まれ育ったのも焦点だったはずだし、女中として生きた過去も今に活かせるんじゃないでしょうか。
でもやっぱり状況が全然違いますよ。女中さんのお仕事とお店のお仕事はまるっきり別のことですって。
I'm not entirely sure. It's service-based. A lot of it involved food and cleaning. Honestly, she's kind of wrong here. There's a lot of comparisons that would be very similar.
確かに違う仕事ですし、時代も状況も違いますけど、まるっきり別というわけでもないでしょ
う。Exactly.
人に対する気配りは同じではありませんか。
女中だった時の私は気配りなんて。
No, that's not true at all. You were very mindful. You often were very much not caring, or, you know, you would let bad things happen per se. Like, well, we won't get into that, but you did have to understand how people felt and had to administer to their needs and desires. Like, that's absolutely what you did.
あの時だってあったと思いますよ。君自身の心は残っていたのだから。もちろん強制しているわけではありません。その気があったらやってみてはどうかという話です。
Do it. Do it. It's such a good idea.
ただ、挑戦できる土台があるのなら、経験があろうとなかろうと、手を出してみてもいいと思うんです。挑戦するなら、私も手伝いますから。
Aww.
なんだか、全部お膳立てしてもらって進めるのはどうなんだろうって。
I don't know, don't get me wrong, Giselle. Even if you get everything you need to get started, it's gonna be an uphill battle. You'll thoroughly earn yourself the right to have a cafe.
もちろん嫌なわけじゃないんです。私自身がそれでいいのかなって、都合よく乗っかってるだけなんじゃないかって。
Oh, come on, you earned it.
それに、もし失敗しちゃったらどうしようって思うんです。やる前からこんなに心配するのも良くないですけど、店舗を改装するのだってたくさんお金がかかるし、そこまでしてもらって成功できなかったら。
I want to tell her that screw it, just go for it, but she's got a valid concern.
後ろ向きなことを言うのはこちらの役割で、無鉄砲なことをするのは君の方だったのに、今日は真逆だ。
だって。
迷惑とか他人行儀なことは考えなくていい。というより、考えないでほしい。君の人生は、私の人生でもあるのだから。
Oh yeah.
だから、私に迷惑がかかるというような理由で悩んでいるのなら、その悩みは無用だ。
What a freaking... Michelle, you're awesome.
それに、君は全部お膳立てしてもらってと言ったが、こちらが用意できるのはあくまで土台だ。
Exactly.
成長させていくのは、ジゼル、君の仕事なんだ。簡単なことではないと思うし、困難も出てくると思う。もしかしたら、大きくつまずくような失敗があるかもしれないが、それでも構わないじゃないか。その時は、一緒に立て直していこう。君がやってみたいことは、私のやってみたいことでもあるんだ。まあ、一方的に色々と言いましたが、やりたくないことを押し付けたいわけではないので。
君の人生は私の人生でもあるって、まるでプロポーズだわ。
Yes, interesting that, isn't it? Maybe that's a clue for you two, huh?
まるでというより、そのつもりでしたけど。
Oh, yes! Just flat out just comes out and says it. Yes! Why can we not have more protagonists like Michel? Like, I'm so used to all the dumb ones who are just super flaky and never can commit to anything. And she's just like, oh, it almost sounds like a proposal. He's like, well, that kind of was what it was supposed to be. And she's like, wait, what?
君にばかりプレッシャーや責任を押し付けるつもりはないので。もし店を開くのなら、その前に席を入れましょう。
That's a little cruel. It's like,
いや、店を開く開かないは別としても、結婚は
Michelle, you're doing such a good job and then such a terrible job at the same time. How can you be so good and bad simultaneously?
ジゼル?
She's like floored. Giselle, her face as red as a beet, had fainted. Holy crap! Working up the courage to speak those words had taken a lot out of me, but no amount of preparation was enough for her actual response. We were already living together, so the matter of marriage only had made a difference on paper. But I suppose I may have underestimated the potency of the word itself. I tried to be as casual as possible about it, too. That's part of the problem, man. Oh, gosh.
夢じゃないですよ。気分はどうですか？まさか倒れるとは思いませんでした。
ミシェル、だっていつも唐突なんですもの。
I know, right? At first it's like, would you like a cafe? And it's like, oh, and of course we should get married first. It's like...
お店のことといい、
落ち着け。言えてない。また倒れるんじゃないだろうな。
結婚のこととか本当にいきなりすぎるわ。私にもキャパシティってものがあるんです。
Oh, come on, though.
それは失礼。どうにもタイミングや雰囲気を作るのがうまくないもので。
Yeah.
でもすごく嬉しかったです。お店のこともう少し考えてもいいですか？私だけじゃなくてあなたの人生も関わるんだから。
What about the other thing? The other thing is pretty important too.
真剣に考えなきゃって思うの。
もちろん、じっくり考えてください。でも、気負いすぎないでいいですから。
Okay.
わかりました。
Oh, that was lovely. That was so Giselle and Michel. Giselle felt uncharacteristically quiet, seemingly deep in thought. Then, quite suddenly, she jumped to her feet and announced, "I'm going to take a little walk." She said that she wanted time alone to consider, so I saw her to the door and then she was off. It was the first time in a while we'd been apart on one of my days off. Perhaps I should have taken this as a bit slower, given how significant a choice it was. I was beginning to think that perhaps I had put too much on her plate at once. Her fainting didn't give you that clue? It wasn't that any of the decisions were going to be unpleasant, but they would still require a great deal of consideration. I'd known Giselle long enough to trust she would reach a conclusion she was satisfied with, but I still couldn't completely escape from my anxiety. Nonetheless, all I could do was wait.
ジゼルがいないと時間が長く感じる。メールのチェックでもしておくか。何か連絡が来ているかもしれない。
Watch, she'd been gone like 2 minutes.
入居に関する問い合わせが一件来ているな。
Huh, Marie? Did she?
まさか。
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, look at this place. This looks nice.
いつもなら悩む役目はミシェルなのに、本当に逆転しているわ。どうしよう。嬉しいことだし、お店もやってみたいけど。ごめんなさい。前を見ていなくて。ごめん。こっちも歩きながら携帯いじってて。
Hello.
おおほんとよく会うね。今日は一人なんだ。なんか思い詰めた顔しちゃってるけど、彼氏と喧嘩でもした？いえ喧嘩なんて全然。マリーヤさんもお散歩ですか？例の喫茶店の件はどうなりました？オーナーにはとりあえず謝ってもらったけど、そんだけさ。まだ次の仕事も見つかってないし。
Is this what's gonna push
フラ
her?
フラしているところ。
Is she gonna be pushed to like? Is she gonna like offer Marie a job at a cafe that doesn't exist yet?
そうなんですか。マリーヤさんっていろいろな仕事を経験してそうだわ。それに人生経験も豊富そう。で、長年女中をやっていた私が言うようなことじゃないかもしれないけど。どうしたの？なんか言いたげな顔してるけど。
What an answer.
突然なんですが、ちょっと相談に乗ってもらえませんか
？Let me just ask you life-altering questions. God, this park is beautiful.
なるほどね。そんで、あんたは店を開こうかどうしようか悩んでいると。まあ。ぶっちゃけ、私としては何に悩んでるのかさっぱりわかんないんだけど。
I mean, I agree with her.
あんたの彼氏、ミシェルっつったっけ？そいつも協力するって言ってんでしょ？失敗が怖いって言っても、そんなん言ってたら何もできないし。
She's right.
そもそもやりたくないとか？だったらわかるけどね。急に店やれって言われても面倒だもんな。やりたくないってことはないんです。むしろ 本当にお店を開けるのかもって思ったら、どんな内装にしようかしらとか、どんなメニューにしようかしらとか、何を売りにしようかしらとか。
Oh, come on, you got this.
考えが止まらなくて、すごく楽しいんです。
だったら、なんで？
I agree. What's really the hang up?
多分、うまくいきすぎているのが怖いんだと思います。それにお店を開けるって言っても、私の力でできたわけじゃありませんから。何もかも用意してもらって、普通はお店を開くって、みんな苦労して大変な思いをしているはずなんです。
I mean, maybe you're right, but at the same time, it's not fair to compare yourself because you had it a little easier than others.
そこまでやって、ようやくたどり着けるところだと思うんです。
And also, I'd argue you fought well hard enough in your previous lives. But putting that aside, this is an interesting dilemma because I'm not sure there's a solid answer for it.
苦労して大変な思いをしたから偉いってわけでも、ましてや苦労したから成功するって話でもないんだよ。
And Marie's got a great point of view here.
もらえるものはもらえるうちに手にしておけばいいんだよ。いつもらえなくなるかわかんないんだから。遠慮したりまだ早いって思っているうちに手が届かなくなるかもしれないよ。
Very true.
全部用意してもらったって思ってんなら、それを後で全部返してやれやいいだけじゃんか。
I love that. Take that silver platter and give him a gold one back.
それとも楽な思いをしてるって思われるのが嫌だとか？そんなの思わせておきゃいいんだよ。
マリーアさん。
そりゃ私だって今、うわ、私が大変な目に遭ってるのに、こいつってば超恵まれてるって思ってるよ。
Okay.
あ、思ってるんだ。
でも、私とあんたは違うんだし、そんなところで恨んでもしょうがないもんね。なに？そんな驚いた顔して。私、変なこと言った？
すごくいいこと言ってますよ。思わずびっくりしちゃうくらいに。だって、私の知っているあの時代のマリーアさんは、まさに恨みで悲劇の引き金を引いた人だったから。あれも、館の呪いが後押ししていたのかしら。本当だったら、こんな風にさっぱりとした考えができる人だったんだわ。
If you think about her back in like her original days, she was a lot more laid back about stuff. Like, to the point where she was actually a bit apathetic, actually.
マリーアさん、ありがとう。悩んでいたのが嘘みたいにスッキリした気分です。
それならいいんだけど、私が何か言った程度でスッキリできるんなら、もともとは大きな悩みなんかじゃないんだよ、きっとね。
Harsh but fair.
そうかもしれませんね。自分自身で勝手に悩み事を大きくしちゃってただけなのかも。でも、まだ大きな心配事が解決していないんです。そして、それについてはぜひ一緒に解決してほしいんですけど。
Yeah?
一緒にって、私が？
お店を開くの、手伝ってもらえないでしょうか？
Yep, she's literally get off her job.
急なお願いだって分かっているんですけど、実際に何をしていけばいいのか分からないことが多すぎて、マリーアさんみたいな経験者がいてくれると心強いなって。
いくらなんでも突然すぎでしょ。この前出会った程度の人間と一緒にビジネスやろうって話じゃん。考えなしにも程があるって、ほんと超ウケる。
I mean, she's absolutely right. Normal circumstances, this is bananas.
ですよね、やっぱり。私にとっては、この前出会った程度じゃないんだけどな。すみません。マリーアさんの事情も考えず、今のは忘れてもらえると。
断るなんて言ってないんだけど。いいよ。こういうのも何かの縁でしょ。どうせ無職だし、仕事をもらえるんならありがたいや。
いいんですか？こんな急な話で、これから先どうなるか全くわからないのに。
She's like, I've made worse bets.
それに、出会ったばかりなのに、私のことを信用してくれるんですか？ 前は詐欺とか勧誘とか疑われてましたけど。
自分から誘っておいて何なのさ。運を天に任してみる気になったんだ。私のことは気にすんなって。この前はああ言ったけどさ、信じられるような気がするんだよね、あんたのこと。どっかで一緒に仕事したような気がするっていうか、私も何言ってるのかわかんないな。
Yeah, there it is.
だからそういうことで、これからよろしくね、店長さん。
店長さんっていうのはまだ気が早いけど、でもよろしくお願いします。
さすがに一から店を立ち上げるのは私もやったことないから楽しみだよ。
I'm actually getting excited.
頑張りましょう。
I wonder what they're gonna call the cafe. There's a lot of interesting names they could give it. That was her saying yes. When Giselle returned, it seemed as though all her apprehensions had vanished in a puff of smoke. She was set on moving forward with the cafe, and evidently she also found someone to lend her a hand. Maria. I was more than a little curious as to how exactly the pieces fell into place the way they did. Maria just lost her job, though, so the arrangement worked out for everyone involved. And then, after Giselle had filled me in on everything on her end, I gave her an update on my own. There would likely be someone moving into the second floor in the near future. And our prospective new tenant was possibly someone we both knew quite well. Interesting. Giselle's weekdays from then on were spent scrambling to sort through the mountain of tasks that would be necessary for opening a new cafe. Even when I was at the office and not around to help, she sent me regular updates of her progress. Because we weren't in the city, the majority of customers were likely to be locals. She said she wanted to make it to a comfy, inviting space. It helped out whenever I had time off work, and time again I found myself amazed at the progress. At this pace, it seemed likely the cafe would be ready to open for business in time for summer. The other day, Maria had apparently brought an acquaintance of hers to construct the counter, and the both of us were quite caught off guard when we found out exactly who that acquaintance was. Are you serious?
マリアさん、おはようございます。
I think we're gonna go ahead and stop here because I'm guessing it's gonna be another one. Wouldn't it be hilarious if she like brought like Jacopo? She's like, "Hey, I got this friend here." And he's just like, "Sup?" All right, but thank you guys so much for being here today. We're gonna go ahead and take the break off here for now. This was a nice, refreshing day. Nice, refreshing recording. I needed this. I needed this a lot. So thank you guys so much for being here. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, and of course, it's so nice having these characters in a setting this is so like uplifting, you know. A good comparison is if any of you watched or are familiar with like Muv-Luv and how dark and dreary that can get, and then they had Altered Fable, which I considered the love letter to fans of the series, where it was like a lot more about like just focusing on the characters and looking and pursuing happiness and just having fun being together as characters. That's essentially what Resurrection feels like. It feels like a love letter to the fans of Fata Morgana and the characters involved. This is kind of like a payoff for all of like the trauma and the like burdens and the stress and the pains that the characters have gone through. We get to finally have this like unloading of just enjoyment. And it's so funny because like by itself, this story would be really interesting. Like cut out like all like the reflections on the past. It'd just be kind of like a casual story about like a couple in love, opening up a cafe and meeting up with friends and stuff, you know? Great story in and of itself, but having all the backstory and all like the previous lives that we're aware of really enhances the story in a fun way. So I'm really excited to see where this is going to go from here. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Like, it really means the world to me that you're even spending any modicum of time here on the channel. It means so much. So thank you for being a part of this adventure with me, and especially thank you to the patrons. You guys are awesome. You guys have helped make sure that I not only can keep making content, but I can make more content, and that I can have like great art to go along with the content. Overall, you've been able to contribute directly to the channel, and it means the world to me. Thank you for helping me keeping things going, keeping the proverbial lights on. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much. Oh yeah, that's kind of funny because like we're talking about like business partners. Effectively, the patrons, you guys are my business partners in a way. So thank you for helping me open up this little shop on the internet. But anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and until the next video, watch me ever see me next. I'll see you there.